Everyone get ready. Once I take the picture off, you can start.
Bună seara tuturor! Hello, hi, William, Timothy.
Hi.
Nice to see all of you today.
Thank you.
I will say a few words in Romanian at the beginning and after we will listen to you. Bună seara tuturor din nou! Mă bucur tare mult că am reușit să ne vedem astăzi în acest context. Evenimentul de lansare al Cărții Albe, the White Book, or the Bible, Biblia. Așa cum vă vedeți, da, așa cum puteți vedea pe ecran, alături de mine astăzi este și colega mea Claudia Matei. Noi vă vom reține atenția pentru câteva minute la început, după care îi vom asculta pe William, Timothy și John. Ei sunt autorii, de la ei vrem să auzim cât mai multe lucruri. Câteva detalii tehnice, să spunem, la început. William va avea o prezentare care va dura în jur de 30 de minute, așa că vă rugăm ca pe măsură ce ascultăm și vedem prezentarea, dacă aveți întrebări, să le lăsați în comentarii. Noi vom fi aici, le vom urmări și la final putem răspunde și la întrebările voastre. Referitor la traducere, nu vom avea traducere, îl vom asculta pe William în engleză și sperăm să fie în regulă așa. Suntem convinși că mare parte dintre voi vor reuși să urmărească toată prezentarea în engleză. Iar referitor la întrebările voastre, da? Rugămintea este să le scrieți dacă puteți direct în engleză. Este ok să le scrieți și în română, vom fi aici și le vom traduce noi la final. Câteva emoții am și eu, ca de fiecare dată când vorbesc în fața publicului. Nu cred că o să-mi treacă asta niciodată. The White Book, sau Cartea Albă, cum spuneam, reprezintă un tovarăș de drum, aș zice, înțelept și de încredere pentru studenții și profesioniștii din domeniu și o sursă sigură de informație pentru toți cei care, din pură curiozitate sau necesitate contextuală, iau contact cu acest segment de cunoaștere. Autorii au pus bazele unui text de specialitate, stabilind standarde academice și de performanță practică. E o carte pe care orice student ar trebui să o aibă atunci când ia decizia să devină analist comportamental. Și bineînțeles, nu doar orice student, ci oricine lucrează în domeniu, pentru că oferă o descriere completă a principiilor, procedurilor, tehnicilor necesare pentru a schimba comportamentul semnificativ din punct de vedere social și pentru a înțelege motivele acestei schimbări. Este o carte în care nu veți găsi programe ABA. Asta cu siguranță vă spun de la început, nu veți găsi programe, însă veți găsi tot ceea ce înseamnă principii, tehnici, proceduri. Autorii au actualizat informațiile pentru fiecare capitol în parte, au venit cu cât mai multe exemple practice, cu cele mai recente cercetări pentru fiecare capitol în parte. Așa că sunt absolut convinsă că fiecare dintre voi va avea multe de învățat și multe de pus în practică odată ce va parcurge 1000 de pagini de principii tehnici și proceduri în analiza comportamentală aplicată. Aș vrea să menționez echipa care a lucrat la traducerea acestei a treia ediții. Claudia, care este aici alături de mine, Iulia Bucur, Laura Ciobanu și Raluca Angel. Împreună am lucrat în ultimul an la revizuirea acestei a treia ediții și, bineînțeles, aș vrea să punctez și numele Monicăi Pruteanu, colega noastră care a făcut traducerea inițială, pentru că a avut curaj să se implice într-un proces atât de complex. Practic a învățat o limbă nouă cu fiecare capitol în parte pe care l-a tradus. Nu o să vă mai rețin acum, aș vrea să o las și pe Claudia să spună câteva cuvinte. Iar pentru Bill, Hoop and Tim, we are very happy that you are here with us today. Thank you very much for your presence, and we are also happy to see that we have therapist parents with us today. We all appreciate your work, dedication, and enthusiasm in the ABA field, so we can wait to hear you. Claudia.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bună seara tuturor! Mă bucur tare mult că mă aflu în acest context cu acești oameni fabuloși și mi se pare extrem de frumos faptul că există atât de mult interes în ceea ce privește analiza comportamentală în România. Este cumva neașteptat, asta discutam fix înainte să intrăm live, că pentru o țară mică este foarte mult interes, ceea ce înseamnă că în domeniul acesta se vor face progrese și de aici înainte consistente. Și lucrul ăsta este bun pentru copiii cu care lucrăm mai ales. Acum, ca experiență în ceea ce privește cartea, aș vrea să vă povestesc. În considerație pentru biblioteca mea, la mine în casă, cărțile mari și grele au niște locuri desemnate, anume pentru a nu dărâma vreo poliță prinsă mai slab. Și când revizuiești o carte de acest tip, îți vine foarte mult să procrastinezi și să faci altceva. Te apucă curățenia, te apucă alte nevoi. Așa că în mintea mea, în timp ce revizuiam această ultimă traducere, a apărut joculețul de a ierarhizarea acestor mari cărți, mari și la propriu și la figurat. Pe lângă unele cărți voluminoase de beletristică pe care le-am citit în trecut, când aveam răbdare mai multă, Mai am și niște cărți mari pe care nu le-aș pune la socoteală, pentru că jumătate din conținutul lor se bazează pe imagini, și alte cărți foarte voluminoase despre istorie care nu mi-aparțin mie, ci soțului meu. Practic, mi-am dat seama în timpul acestui joculeț că aș putea să clasez pe primul loc în bibliotecă analiza comportamentală aplicată, nu doar pentru volum, ci și din motiv că am citit-o de 3 ori. Prima dată pentru examen, a doua oară pentru prima traducere, iar a treia oară acum. Conținutul acestei cărți nu e tocmai ușor de ținut nici în mână și nici în minte, motiv pentru care e nevoie să o avem și să ne reîntoarcem la ea ori de câte ori apare această nevoie. De obicei, cărțile care cer minții să gândească nu sunt cele mai populare cărți, cum nu sunt nici cărțile mari, voluminoase, și nici cele care conțin foarte mult limbaj specializat. Acestea mi se pare însă că sunt cărți menite să respecte domeniul pe care îl discută, aplicate așa în detaliu asupra analizei și înțelegerii, iar comportamentul uman cred că este unul dintre cele mai vaste subiecte pe care îl poate aborda cineva în scris. O parte din ceea ce gândesc azi și o parte din ceea ce fac în viața profesională, dar și în viața personală, există datorită specializării mele, deci implicit acestei cărți. Iar mulțumirile nu le pot aduce decât autorilor ei, care și-au dedicat infinit mai mult timp decât am făcut-o noi. So, all my thanks for this book, the most important book in our field work, goes to you, Timothy Heron, Professor William Heward, and John Cooper. Thank you for joining us this evening for the release of the 3rd edition of the book. It's really nice to see you again. And please let us know your thoughts about this new edition. How is it? What changed?
Well, we are here to share a lot of thoughts about that. And just before we end, and just want to say how honored and thrilled Coop, Tim, and I are to have gotten to team with you for the 2nd edition. That's you translated into Romania, and as Tim had mentioned earlier when we were backstage warming up for today's event, what a wonderful opportunity it was when we got to come and make some presentations for the launch event live in Bucharest at the fantastic auditorium. And now with the kind of magic of the internet, we get to do it again, and hopefully reach many people throughout Romania.
Yes,
Tim?
it's a easier way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to echo Bill's remarks. I'm with John Cooper in his home, 8,283 kilometers away, but with you in spirit. And I know I speak for John when I say that hats off and kudos to the team who translated 900 and some pages of our work for a Romanian audience. We are truly humbled by that. And hopefully there's 1 or 2 sentences in there that will help you and the individuals with whom you work. So thank you very much.
Well said, Tim.
We also thank you.
Well, what's new in the 3rd edition? Vlad, can we see that first slide? You have to be careful when you ask former professors to come and talk to you for a little bit. But we managed to pare down about 5 hours of comments about what's new to 25 or 30 minutes. And we share some slides and examples from the book with you. But let's start by kind of going back to the founder of this science, behavior analyst. And Skinner, in his book, Science and Human Behavior, he noted that although telescopes and cyclotrons give us a dramatic picture of science in action, and that science could not have improved or advanced very far without those instruments, Such devices and apparatus, they're not science themselves. Skinner went on to say what scientific instruments do is they bring the scientist into greater contact with his or her subject matter, and thereby enabling more precise description and control of key variables. Well, it might be that reading about applied behavior analysis can improve the readers, can improve our contact with what scientists have learned about socially significant behavior, the variables of which it is a function, and how to change it effectively and ethically. Well, how much reading is needed to fully grasp and appreciate applied behavior analysis? One of the real founders of the science, Don Baer, he once said, and I'll quote, "The cost of knowing well the basic principles and paradigms of the theoretical and experimental aspects of behavior analysis would require about 2,000 pages and some laboratory experience. ABA shares the same basic principles with the theoretical and experimental branches of behavior analysis, but adds to them an even larger number of secondary principles, strategies, and tactics for making those basic principles work in the real world as they do in the lab. ABA also adds a set of principles about ethical and humane practice, prominent among which is the need to be certain through continuous and extensive measurement and experimentation that the particular case in hand is going well and will continue to go well because it will change as it progresses." And he said, the cost of knowing all that is, I estimate, about 3,000 pages of reading and several years of supervised practical experience. Well, Coop, Tim, and I hope that our book's 900 pages will contribute to Baer's reading assignment for many, many Romanian behavior analysts today and in the future. The second edition of our text has been the most widely adopted book in applied behavior analysis in both undergraduate and graduate programs. A couple of peer-reviewed papers attested to that. And we love this wonderful little bookmark that Corey Robertson, one of the lead instructors at Florida Institute of Technology's ABA program, and one of Corey's kind of go-to sayings to his students, he says, when in doubt, get the white book out. The second edition is translated into the 8 languages shown here, including, importantly, Romanian. 2 months ago, the first translation of the third edition was published in French, the French translation. And translations of the third edition are currently underway in Arabic, Chinese, Italian, and Korean. Today here, of course, we're here to recognize and celebrate the launching of the Romanian translation, White Book 3, Romanian White Book 3. And we are just forever indebted to the tireless Anca Dumitrescu and her wonderful colleagues that have worked so hard to translate our text. But maybe before we talk about what's new in the third edition, I think it's important we can start with what hasn't changed from the second edition. And first is that our purpose and goal remain unchanged. Coop, Tim, and I have always strived to have our book provide an accurate, comprehensive, and contemporary description of applied behavior analysis. Our text invites, and we think really requires, concentrated, intensive, serious study. But despite its 900 pages across 31 chapters, our book is an introductory text for two reasons. First, the reader needn't possess prerequisite knowledge to understand the content. And second, attaining a full understanding of applied behavior analysis requires considerable study and supervised experience beyond what's in our book. Also unchanged is in the third edition from the second edition is contributions, our contributions by an absolutely amazing group of contributing authors. And we've highlighted in blue here the 5 new authors that joined our contributing author team from the second edition. And you don't need to study or be involved very long in ABA to realize and recognize immediately each and every one of these people and their names. There's some of their research is some of the major developments and contributors to applied behavior analysis. Another thing that hasn't changed from 2E, the third edition, like its predecessor, is chock full with graphs. White Book 3 includes more than 150 graphs of data from peer-reviewed research. Many of those graphs are accompanied by detailed descriptions of the study's methods. Coop, Tim, and I have a threefold purpose for including so many graphs in our text. First, we want to illustrate behavior analytic principles and procedures with actual applications and real data. Second, reading the procedural descriptions will help students to appreciate the technical precision and control of complex environmental events that researchers and practitioners must achieve in order to solve problems and show functional relations between variables. Third, the graphs are opportunities for students of ABA to develop and refine through practice and discussion with their instructors, mentors, and fellow students, their visual analysis skills. And of course, the cover hasn't changed. It's still white, and it's still white. It will always forever remain white. And all right. So what's new? Well, we revamped the table of contents in the third edition to incorporate 2 totally new chapters. We'll mention a little bit about those in a minute. And what we did in the outline, while the basic structure is the same, we moved the chapter on verbal behavior up in the book so that it appears prior to the chapters on developing new behavior, recognizing the importance and foundation of verbal behavior for developing all new behavior and for understanding the 2 new chapters, brand new chapters in the book on equivalence-based instruction and engineering emergent learning with non-equivalence relationships. Coop, Tim, and I also retitled the 2 punishment chapters from punishment by contingent presentation of a stimulus, which is an unnecessary mouthful of extra words, to simply positive punishment. And we changed the title of the chapter previously called punishment by removal of a stimulus, to negative punishment. Not only are these chapter titles just easier to teach and understand, more importantly, they fit conceptually. They're conceptual parallels to positive and negative reinforcement. So I mentioned that there are 2 brand new chapters. Chapter 19 by Carol Pilgrim, titled Equivalence-Based Instruction, begins with a detailed and powerful history and description of Murray Sidman's groundbreaking work on stimulus equivalence, and adds to that all of the research has been conducted since, showing the just amazing kinds of extra learning, bonus learning that can occur when lessons are designed in a particular way so that direct instruction, explicit instruction on some skills and stimulus relations produces in the learner other stimulus relations that were not directly taught. And in Dr. Pilgrim's chapter, like throughout the book, we'll talk a little bit more about these in a bit, are a number of, we call them kind of special topic or special interest boxes. And two from Dr. Pilgrim's chapter are illustrated here. The chapter titled Engineering Emergent Learning with Non-Equivalent Relations by Drs. Tom Critchfield and Ruth Ann Rayfeld is just an amazing introduction to non-equivalent relations, to relational frame theory, a little bit of an introduction to RCT, to ACT, excuse me, acceptance and commitment theory. And I have to just mention in that chapter 20, the first figure there shown on the right on this slide is probably Koop's my favorite figure in the entire book. Tom had a lot of fun with this, where it's one way to kind of teach how you might start to think about non-equivalent relations, and put beer in the big circle in the middle, and then what are all the potential relations that arbitrary and relations you might learn how beer is related to, well, to life in general. Again, some real detailed description of these principles, but done in such a way that we think it really helps introductory students, as well as people kind of going back to the book for brushing up, as Koop, Tim, and I do ourselves all the time. What is this non-equivalent relations, and how does it work? Some wonderful examples that Tom and Ruth Ann included. As I mentioned, a little bit of an introduction to RFT and to ACT. 3 chapters that were in the second edition completely kind of deconstructed and put back together by their contributing authors. Jack Michael's classic chapter on motivating operations, or MOs, that appeared in the second edition was revised and updated by Dr. Kyle Miguel. And Kyle is one of Jack's PhD students, and has gone on to develop in his verbal behavior lab and with his students and colleagues, both in the US and Brazil, a lot of research, both basic and translational and applied research, looking at MOs. This chapter includes a number of new graphics that we think will really help students understand in a meaningful way motivating operations. Mark Sundberg, when Koop, Tim, and I invited Mark, and certainly hoped that he would revise his chapter in the second edition on verbal behavior, and he said he was just thrilled to do that. And Mark told us he saw this as an opportunity to not only describe really his life's work in verbal behavior, but to pay particular attention to recognizing the just fundamental importance of not only B.F. Skinner's work in bringing a functional analysis of language to behavior analysis, but to Mark's mentor, like Kyle, Mark's mentor, in his doctoral program was Jack Michael. And so this chapter just really explores in a wonderful way, again, introductory, but boy, there's a lot of meat in these chapters. What a functional analysis of language communication or verbal behavior means. And again, lots of new tables and graphics to help us do that, as well as, again, a couple of examples on this slide of special topics or special interest boxes. And I know we're running through these slides very, very quickly, but we'll make this PDF available. And Anka, Claudia, you may share a PDF of these slides with any of your colleagues and students who may be interested in looking at them. Chapter 31, the final chapter in our text, Ethical and Professional Responsibilities of Applied Behavior Analysts. Linda LeBlanc, a recent editor of Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis, joined the co-author team, Tom Freeman and Jose Martinez Diaz in this chapter. And again, it's a completely overhauled, rewritten chapter. Maintains, of course, the critical elements that were in their second edition chapter, which Tim also contributed heavily as a co-author on that second edition chapter. But this is just lots and lots of valuable information, not just for beginning and future applied behavior analysts, but for practicing behavior analysts in the field with practical work and researchers as well, of keeping forefront in everything that they do, from targeting behaviors to change, to measurement, to reporting the results and communicating, keeping the ethical responsibilities front and center. I mentioned throughout the text are a number of special interest boxes and topics. And of the book's 2,700 references to original material in both basic translational and, of course, primarily the applied research, in the third edition, over 1,000 of those references are new. Our revised and updated glossary of technical terms it contains 529 terms, everywhere from the most basic things you could imagine, behavior, environment, stimulus, but also science. We offer a definition of science and empiricism, to the most dive down deep into ABA technical terms are there. And as I'm sure Anka and team can share with you, there's a lot of stuff to learn to master the vocabulary of applied behavior analysis. But we made a particular effort, Coop, Tim, and I, to really include in our book just a lot of interesting stuff about this science, its history, some of the key actors and players and researchers. Every chapter has some number of footnotes. Many of those will direct the interested reader to additional information, but sometimes just some side observations, some fun facts, interesting side notes. And we'll close just by running through a few examples from some of the other chapters of kind of new and we think interesting information. Chapter 1 is an example of that. We expanded from what was a 2-sentence paragraph in the second edition about the amazing potential of applications of ABA. That ABA is certainly not just for helping people with challenging behavior or to be effective to help individuals affected by autism spectrum disorder, that applications of ABA literally extend from A to Z, and we had identified a dozen or so in the second edition by text. And in the third edition, we have about 164 examples. I just mentioned a recent article in Perspectives on Behavior Science expanded this list and showed more than 350 domains of socially significant behavior to which ABA researchers have attended. This second chapter that goes into, it's really a mini introduction to the science of ABA. We purposely, right from the get-go, introduce a lot of the fundamental principles and technical terms, starting by defining environment and behavior, and what is a functional relation. And, you know, just one box of particular interest is called the behavioral stream, shown on the right-hand side of this slide. And that's based on the work of Northern Ireland's Mickey Keenan and Carola Dillenberger. And it illustrates the continuous ever-changing nature of behavior and the environment. And in many, if not most, or all of these special interest boxes, we provide the reader with citations, sometimes links to the internet, where you can dive deeper into this topic. One of the new things that we added to chapter 6 on creating and understanding and analyzing visual displays of behavioral data, the graphing chapter, is a box on that, you know, don't be fooled by a pretty graph. And the bar graph on this box, the one shown in the left on this slide, it compares the number of baseball teams located in the United States who have won baseball's World Series. That's the big tall bar on the left, compared with World Series winners from outside the United States. Well, if you just look at this graph and you don't really think about where did these data come from, it suggests, well, the United States is forever and always and continues to dominate the rest of the baseball playing world. But the data depicted in this bar graph, while completely correct, they're accurate. They represent dramatically different opportunities to play in the World Series. And comparing multiple data sets with different scales for each data set is another way that the graph maker can bias or sway the graph looker, the audience, with a very deceptive graph. Figure B on the right shows the correlation between the use of an herbicide called glyphosate. It's the trade name is Roundup in North America, and it's a commonly used herbicide by farmers of corn and soybeans. And it shows that graph going straight up, along with an increasing incidence of cancer. And it sure suggests that the more farmers use Roundup on their fields, the more people are being diagnosed and getting cancer. Well, again, the data are correct. Farmers have been using more Roundup and cancer incidents are going up. But the graph maker used two different scales to create this image and is using a very unscientific way to present information. Now, we purposely use some eye-popping examples outside of applied behavior analysis to hopefully get our students' attention. And then we have you go back in, and as you're looking at journals and presentations with graphs, make sure, be a very skeptical consumer of behavioral data. Make sure that graph is legitimate. The chapter on chapter 13 on intermittent schedules has been revamped and improved in a number of ways. As Tim Coop and I did throughout the book, we didn't just think about all the new wonderful developments in ABA and what to include and how to include it, but how could we improve throughout the book how we attempt to teach the principles and the concepts and procedures. So chapter 13 includes a number of new graphics, tables, and figures that we think really will help students learn the important differences between basic schedules of reinforcement, concurrent schedules, complex schedules, and so forth. Similarly, with shaping, in that chapter, we included several things to try to help us do a better job, a more effective job of teaching this most critical skill, especially for applied behavior analysts, and especially for ABAers working to help teach new skills. The graphic, the figure on the left from chapter 22 is an exemplar from some published literature on shaping response magnitude, and in this case, lung capacity, which was relevant to an important study on helping people who have stopped smoking, a way to test their development of and increase their lung capacity. And the one on the right is an example of shaping response topography. And to do this in a two-dimensional form, we pretended that the behavior analyst has targeted drawing lines in parallel, which we can't imagine many, if any, situations where that'd be a socially significant behavior change, but it lends itself to displaying in a two-dimensional page in a textbook, a beginning repertoire, the differential reinforcement of some responses in that beginning repertoire, and then how differential reinforcement is applied across changing, improving repertoires. We also included in the shaping chapter a description of Portal. It's an acronym for it's a portable shaping laboratory, P-O-R-T-L. I encourage you to check it out. It was developed as a way that university students and people in BCBA training programs can work with each other to develop and learn their shaping skills. Extinction. We added a box to help students be more refined in their verbal behavior about extinction. So this box called extinction semantics, what different terms mean and what they really don't mean, and maybe how to be a little more careful when we speak of extinction. We also included information on resurgence. That was a new development in ABA since our second edition. Examples of some of the additions to help teach in chapter 31, the chapter on developing programming for important generalization of behavior change. We've got both a table and a figure that we think can help students and practitioners kind of detect the difference between teaching enough examples, programming common stimulus, and training loosely, but that's not an all or none, black or white discrimination. And to understand the overlay between those strategies, we think that can help you program for generalization more effectively. We have a special interest box in this chapter on how indiscriminable contingencies might be used in community environments, in residential environments, in work and shopping environments to promote green behavior change, to help with sustainability. There's lots more in there. I know that's kind of a very quick introduction to some of the things that Coop, Tim, and I have done with the third edition. And we're purposely ending with the very first page when you tune in to the third edition. We dedicated the book And by the way, let's make this clear, Tim and Coop, again, to every audience we ever get to speak with. The third edition is the final edition of the White Book. Don't look for edition 4 and when are you guys going to write it? And someday somebody else will write a book that replaces the function of the White Book, and that'll be fine. The science will advance. But Coop, Tim, and I, we've done our bit, and we're proud of that and the opportunity we've had to try to contribute to the science. So we dedicated this edition to Jack Michael, whose extraordinary contributions to behavior analysis will continue to benefit those who teach and practice the science, and most importantly, those whose learning is enhanced by its application. And we included on the dedication page one of our favorite Jack Michael quotes. Jack said, "One might ask why it is of any value to be able to recognize and correctly name these various effects. And I would answer that I've found, for myself at least, that I cannot understand some things unless I can talk about them clearly." So in our text, Coop and I have done our best effort to, along with Jack and all the other contributors to the science and to our book, is to help students and practitioners and researchers and instructors of applied behavior analysis to think and talk about the science clearly. And with that, we say thank you very, very much for attending, watching, listening. And Vlad, you can shut me down whenever you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you for all the details and for explaining what's new in this third edition. And thank you again for being with us today. And the book clearly represents the foundation for any training program in applied behavior analysis, and any practitioner working in the field must have it in their personal library. I really think what I'm saying now is not just buying the book. Please buy the book. Please buy the book. I really think that everybody in the field, especially for the specialists in Romania, we don't have too many books now in Romanian language, so you must have this one. Maybe, Tim, you want to say something?
Yeah, you've all heard the expression, "It takes a village." Usually that expression is spoken in reference to raising children in a family and so forth. It does take a village. It's not just parents who raise the child. It's the entire community environment with which that child lives and so forth. So, I would simply say our colleagues in Romania are part of now a larger behavior analysis village. So again, hopefully the words that you find in our text, that you'll take them, you'll apply them, you'll question them, you'll make this science your own and take it to a level far beyond what Bill and John and I have tried with our introductory work. So again, hats off to you and to your colleagues for taking on the arduous task of translating that and making it available. So run with it as practitioners, as parents, as teachers, as consumers, and Godspeed.
Thank you. Thank you. I see that we have a question. I will read the question. Is from Maria Adriana Boricianu. I will read all the comments. I am extremely delighted to have come into contact with ABA field and I feel immensely grateful for the opportunity to engage with the authors of the white paper and pose them questions directly. And my question is, how have you responded to criticism or resistance to the use of ABA? And how do you believe ABA can be better understood and accepted by the public and mental health professionals? What do you say about this?
Maria, thank you for that question. I've had the opportunity recently, this summer, to participate in ABA and primarily autism conferences, one in Australia, one in France, and just last week I was in Mexico. And I forgot to mention the Spanish, the third edition is in Espanol too. But the question you posed is really on, understandably, on everybody who's working to use the science ABA in an effort to improve the lives of vulnerable people, children with disabilities, adults with limited repertoires, and particularly in the autism or neurodiversity area. And so you don't have to look very far, whether it's on the internet or in journals, to see a wide range of critiques, and many of them are the things that were criticisms of back even before we had a science called applied behavior analysis, was behavior modification, and there were things about, well, this is just robotic, it's stilted, and there are still those kinds of comments that are made, but increasingly about what right is it for someone who's a behavior analyst to change somebody's repertoire and so forth. And here's what the one thing I know, I'll tell you first, I don't know the answer how best for our science to contend with these important and understandable concerns, but I can suggest what I think is the best way. But first, I'll say what I know is a way guaranteed to fail, and that's when we say, no, that's not what we do, and we try to argue or convince the person that their ideas and what they think is completely wrong, because first of all, a number of parents and individuals themselves have unfortunately been subjected to unethical practice. And people that are posing as skilled and ethical behavior analysts but don't have the training, don't have the supervision, and end up doing things to and with, again, vulnerable learners that aren't helpful and can be damaging. That gets us back to what Tim had mentioned, the training and the importance of what you guys are doing in Romania to make ABA a profession and to help just constantly advance and elevate the training so that people who identify as behavior analysts aren't doing unethical things. Then, okay, I know I'm going all over the place. I apologize for the rambling response, but it's don't argue and say, no, you're wrong. Just say, come and look, let me share you this. Let me show you these examples. And there are now hundreds, if not thousands of examples of neurodiverse people, children and parents and researchers themselves explaining their experience and what they've done and what they've seen with ABA. And then, we just keep trying to do better. That's all we can do, trying to do better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think there is no simple answer to this question. We will see how things develop in this way. We do have some questions from parents who would like to buy the book, but if they ask if the book is too complicated for them, Before letting you answer to this question, I would like to say that, for example, in parenting, we all read about parenting these days. There is a difference between tiny books and I don't know, that can be read quickly, and great parenting books written by scientists. So that would be the first difference. I would choose to read something more difficult, but written by a researcher, a scientist. I don't know, like David Siegel, for example. He's a psychiatrist and a professor in UCLA. I think we have to have some easy books to start with, and reliable books who offer us lots of information, even they are harder to digest. So how is it? Should a parent buy this book or not? What would you recommend?
Well, as Bill mentioned, there are literally thousands of references that we cite in the book. I don't know that I would have a parent meeting and suggest that the first primer that the parents would read would be a 900-page textbook. That might be a little overwhelming.
Yes.
But there are other books. I don't mean to embarrass my friend Bill here, but he and his wife Jill have just published a book on contracting, which borrows extremely heavily on behavior analysis principles in terms of design and implementation and evaluation. It's a much more, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, user-friendly, parent-friendly in terms of size, in terms of examples, and in terms of illustrations, so that it's not a one-stop shopping type of enterprise here, that as teachers or practitioners or parents, you need to, say, here's a 900-page book, go ahead and read it. There are other references within the book that might help, and it might be more targeted for the situation that the parent might be facing, whether it's a feeding issue or for a middle or a high school student, practicing musical instruments or doing their homework or bedtime behavior, whatever the issue might be. They don't need to read the entire book to begin to tiptoe, if I could use a swimming pool as an example, to tiptoe into the shallow end of the pool, and then as their interest and skill develop, begin the journey walking to some of the more deeper levels, and then finally swimming independently on their own. So it's not a one-stop shopping thing. If I could come back just briefly to the question asked before about how can we convince others of this or that behavior analysis principle that would apply to them, a very good way, I think, is by your own demonstrations, applying them either within your own family or within your own clinic or classroom if you're a teacher and so forth, and perhaps teaming with others in some sort of a team teaching mode or a coaching a mentor type mode, where the outcomes are clearly visible and repeatable. And it might be the case that, just a little demonstration can go a long way.
May I?
Of course.
Can I add to this? I want to share my screen, if I can do that. And what do I do? Select tab to share. Lad, can you let me share my screen quickly? I'm on. Okay, got it. Entire. Here we go. I think I could do it. Does that show 5 books? No.
No.
Not yet.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe
I'm
Florida.
on share entire screen laptop. Maybe now. Okay. How about
Yes.
now? Do you see
We
some
can-
book titles?
We can
Yes,
see
yes.
screen now.
Yeah. So to this parent who asked this question, and other parents who may be listening, and to all the students, practitioners, instructors of behavior analysis that are with us, applied behavior analysis has a half a century, 50 years of a track record of providing science-based practical information to parents in what are shown on this slide are I think prime exemplars of that, going all the way back to Wes Becker's classic book, Parents Are Teachers, Azrin and Fox's million-seller toilet training in less than a day, Glenn Latham's positive parent training.
Sorry, we can see your screen, but not the books you are talking about. We can see a long list with some folders.
Oh, shoot. How about now? How about now?
No.
Okay, I'm going to
I
stop.
think there is a delay.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's okay. Here's what I will do. Let me get off sharing, and I will just follow up with a couple of suggestions and materials and of course, thank you, Tim, for the plug. Not only is there a book for parents on behavioral contracting, just happens to be an Autism Voice publication by Anta and Friends. And that particular one is written as a children's book that parents can read with their kids, and it has no technical language in it. But let us kind of end this by saying a parent shouldn't think, and worse, we shouldn't think as ABA professionals that because someone's a parent, they're unable to understand what's in the white book. Many parents have read the book. A lot of parents have read our book and decided to become BCBAs. I ran through earlier a slide of a group of people standing with the, I just have it here. That one's 900 and some pages too. The woman who led that translation was a parent of a daughter with autism. Like many parents with children with disabilities, she eventually heard about and came to ABA desperately searching for some effective education for her daughter because they had tried a whole lot of other approaches that promised to do great things and didn't. She became so interested in applied behavior analysis that she got the white book, she read it, she enrolled in a BCBA course sequence. She's now got a master's degree in behavior analysis, and she led the translation team of the white book into French. So we want to be careful when we say, well, it's a parent, they only should get to read this kind of thing. But Tim's absolutely right. You wouldn't lead with, well, you want to know about ABA, the only way to do that is to wade your way through this, this or any other huge textbook. There are a lot of good materials there to get started with. There's also a lot of bad stuff out there. And so that's where working with trusted advisors and mentors, we can help. It's so easy for anybody to get trapped on the internet with all the promises of miracle treatments.
Thank you, Bill. We do have one more question from Andrea. One of my beliefs is that if you don't practice changing your own behavior, you can't inspire clients to implement recommendations for changing their behavior. What advice could you give practitioners to implement in their own lives so that their recommendations can resonate more strongly with their clients?
It's a fantastic observation, question. So maybe for those of us who are studying or are behavior analysts, maybe go to chapter 30 in the new Romanian translation of Cooper, Heron, and Heward's textbook. And that entire chapter is devoted to self-management. And we describe the science behind trying to change our own behavior, but also provide a lot of examples, some of which are related to changing professional behavior. And there's a good paper, I could send that along. It was written by one of the graduates of our master's program at OSU on how teachers, anybody in the role of teaching, can change, do self-management techniques to try to improve their own behavior, not just to perform better, more effectively and ethically, but as you said, as you pointed out, maybe to be a better model and to inspire others.
Yeah, I would just add to that, and I think it's a good question, and to follow up on Bill's notion of self-management. In 2012, my father took ill. He passed away 11 days after his 66th wedding anniversary. And at the time, I was tending to him and tending to my mother, and both my weight and my blood pressure went through the roof. I was just being pulled and tugged in 100 different directions. So I know you can't see this, but on my phone, I started to collect data every day on my weight and my blood pressure. And I've done that for the last 12 years. And I use these data as a way to regulate my blood pressure and my weight. Furthermore, starting June 30th of last year, since I don't ride bicycles the way I used to, John and Bill and I used to go on 100-mile bike rides frequently during the summer and fall months. But I got to a point where that was difficult to do. I started walking. Starting June 30th of last year up until today, I walk at least 2,250 steps. In that time period, I've walked over 1,500,000 steps, which is the equivalent of 666 miles that I can document that I do. And so I would share those data with my siblings, with my friends, with anybody, and say, there's lots of ways to reduce weight and reduce blood pressure, but a simple one that requires no equipment, just a little bit of time, I can do it in 20 minutes, is to walk and to keep yourself active. So the commenter who was saying, how can we go about doing this? Pick something doable, pick something easy, and just kind of stick with it each day. And you'd be surprised that in a year, 15 months now, I've walked the equivalent of walking from here to Philadelphia and beyond. So that's how far 666 miles is. It's impressive what the cumulative effects of a little can do each day.
Yeah.
And Bill, if you like, I'll send you this graph. It's a little embarrassing in some months, but if you want to, I'll make a PDF file so you can share it with your audience there.
Yeah, I have a better idea, Tim. Why don't you walk it over from your house to my house, and you'll have another 10 miles.
There you go. I like that. Bill's always ahead of the game. What can I say? He's always thinking.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Listening to you now remembered me about an anecdote from the first chapter, and I would like to read it now. I think you know what I will read it in Romanian from our version in Romanian. I think this is very important when we are trying to understand functional relation. So, un om care trăia într-o zonă rezidențială suburbană a fost surprins într-o seară să-și vadă vecinul înclinându-se spre cele 4 zări, încantând o melodie ciudată și dansând pe iarba din fața casei, bătând într-o tobă mică. După ce a fost martorul acestui ritual timp de o lună, omul nostru, înnebunit de curiozitate, se hotărăște să afle despre ce e vorba, așa că merge la vecinul său și îl întreabă: de ce faci același ritual în fiecare seară? Îmi apără casa de tigri, i-a răspuns vecinul. Dumnezeule mare, spuse omul, dar tu nu știi că nu există niciun tigru 1000 de mile împrejur? Ba știu, zâmbi vecinul, e clar că funcționează, nu? Mi se pare foarte, foarte important să avem răbdare să analizăm, să descoperim relațiile funcționale pentru a înțelege evenimentele din jurul nostru și să ne abținem de la interpretări. Facem analiză și apoi găsim interpretările cât mai aproape de realitate, de cele corecte. Întotdeauna putem avea parte și de erori, dar măcar să încercăm. So I think you know this anecdote, even if I said it in Romanian.
Listening.
We can send it to you. Anca, send it to him.
Yeah. So just listening to you, Anca, makes Coop and Tim and I, we wish we were students in your class.
Yeah.
I just love the passion, and it's fantastic.
Thanks.
So,
Seriously, I'd be sitting in the first row.
yep. Always.
So
Well,
thank you
so much.
Claudia, I will let you talk.
Okay, thank you so much. We don't have any other questions for now. I think we can answer other questions on our Facebook pages. So thank you so much. It was really nice to have you here. We would have struggled without you. It would have been sad without you. And
It's sad without you.
I hope to have another opportunity to meet again in Romania. Thank you, and have a great day.
You're welcome. And thank you again for
Thank you, everyone.
invitation to
Thanks for
join
having us.
your colleagues.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. La revedere tuturor.
All